I mean, I guess the short answer is no, you don't need to, have found the illustrator, and that's definitely something that the editorial team would do, and would that's part of their job, to find the right illustrator to match the text.
I did lots of courses. I started off with some adult short story ones, and I moved on to some children's books, and I did a course with Curtis Brown as well. That was fantastic.
Right.
And City Lit, I had a fantastic one with that, and City, and that helped me build a bit of a writing network. And then I would, you just sort of you meet people along the way who are doing it, and you usually find out about course competitions from then. Or I didn't actually use Twitter until after, but I did find a couple of blogs, and I can't remember. Paul McVeigh, I think he had a blog where he used to list all the competitions. And so I would go on there every now and then and check that. So you might be able to find your own sources.
The more you do stuff and think it's brilliant, and then look at it again a year later and go, oh, I thought that was brilliant. How interesting. I'm a bit better than that now. And then you just learn and learn, and you not just learning the nuts and bolts of writing, and I can't stress, like, learning structure is so useful, but learning to write yourself, to write through all the influences, to write through all the stuff that you love from other people, until you find your blend and mix, your sort of soup mix of all your influences, so that you know that when you sit down to a page, what you're writing is your version of these characters doing this thing. And I think just writing something every day, like I say, whether it be a little short flash fiction or a sketch, or just whatever it is, as much as going on courses and meeting other people and stuff like that, going online to find those opportunities. But in between times, don't just be chasing that. Find the thing that makes you want to sit down and write something for yourself.
So I wrote Ghost Cloud when I was teaching, and so the teaching days I wouldn't get any writing done, but at the weekends and half terms and summer, then I would be really give myself proper word limits, because I had to get it done on those days. I'm a bit, I think I had a minimum of 300 to 600 words, because I found I kind of beat myself up enough as it is without setting them too high. But I would, echo what James said, is that it was nicer for me to exceed my target than it was to fall short. And that I thanked myself the next day if I did it. I think the other thing I had that I found a few other things that were motivational. At some point, I remember having a post-it on my laptop, which had the cumulative word count, so I could see myself going up, because even you could see yourself climbing into the thousands and the tens of thousands and so on. And then I even had an Excel table at one point where I had each chapter and was oh, I've done this many words in that. And so whatever it is to sort of, for me, it's about kind of encouraging and reminding yourself that you're making progress, even if it's a really long haul.
I mean, in terms of pitching to an agent, I mean, obviously the word limit, if your book is less than 10,000 words, it's absolutely fine, and send through the whole thing, and that's great. And I mean, I guess it depends so much, project to project. I mean, if it's something of that word length, I would tend to say was fit more into a kind of young fiction bracket. So I guess again, other advice that I would always give is reading widely in the genre that you're writing in. So it's not always helpful to have comparison titles, and I don't look for those always in pitches, but if it's helpful, if you feel your book sits alongside a particular other book that you've read that's in that kind of younger fiction space, it's worth mentioning. But also, I mean, I think it's the same in a sense, you're just pitching your story, and as I said before, that sort of 2-sentence, 3-sentence pitch of what the book is, who you think it will appeal to, who the main characters are, what's the adventure they're getting up to. Just, it's really the same, I'd say, no matter what word count your book is.
So I feel middle grade, 8 to 12, is kind of selling really well in general, and especially magical middle grade. It feels there are tons of magical middle grade series, and using kind of magic to tackle themes that kids are approaching in their real lives in kind of a more accessible and safe way, which is really nice. And I mean, I think we're always talking about just more diversity in books in terms of, you know, all sorts of different types of diversity, whether that's, you know, where somebody's from or kind of their race or their sexuality or their class background. And I think that is just something that, you know, we haven't tackled enough yet. So just, yeah, more kind of different voices.
There's definitely been more and more, and there's some really, the CLP did a really nice study showing there's lots of progress. But as a teacher, even in class, you know, there are certain kids who would read magical adventures and there wouldn't be that much diversity there, and it is filtering through. You've got Amari and the Night Brothers and Ghost Cloud. My book's got a half Indian kid like me, you know, so I think it is getting there, but I do think there's room for more diversity in all across the different genres, not just in the issues in books that explicitly explore diversity, but almost diversity as something, you know, like anyone could be a hero of any kind of book. So yeah, I think that would be a lovely thing to see more of.
People often ask, like, oh, what are the trends? Like, is there anything I should be writing specifically? And I just feel like not really, because you should be writing what you want to write, and you should be writing the kind of book that you want to write with the kind of characters that you want to write, and like not feeling you need to, like, you know, impose any like false categories on yourself in a sense, because like you, yeah, write the book you want to write.
I think for me, like the one genre thing that I think is really important at the moment for kids is hope at the end. It's a weird time to be alive, but it must be a very weird time to be a kid. And what I like to write about is there's mad stuff happening. The grown-ups are ignoring it. There is hope. We can do stuff, whether it is to fight aliens, to fight monsters, or to just kind of save the world. Hope, I think, is my genre. That's what I want to see more of.